I found a tube of intimate lubricant hidden in my husband's car trunk, under the spare tire. I didn't say anything. I just replaced the contents with industrial superglue mixed with hot pepper. What happened next made the neighbors call the firefighters, the ambulance, and even the police. Before I tell you this story that completely changed my life and exposed 23 years of lies in front of our entire town, leave your like down below to support our channel, subscribe and hit the bell, and tell me in the comments which city you're watching from this unbelievable story that seems like a Mexican soap opera, but actually happened here in rural Ohio. It was a gray Thursday in March when my life began to crumble. The kitchen wall clock, the same one we got as a wedding gift from my mother-in-law, showed exactly 5:43 in the evening. I remember that detail because it was the exact moment I stopped believing in fairy tales. The French perfume Robert gave me for our last anniversary remained untouched on the dresser for months, collecting dust like our relationship. The gold ring on my finger seemed to weigh tons that specific day, as if it carried the weight of all the lies I didn't yet know. Our 3-bedroom house in the Garden Flowers neighborhood had transformed into a mausoleum of awkward silences and cold dinners. Robert arrived later, and later from the bakery we'd managed together for 15 years. "New suppliers," he'd say, adjusting the tie I never understood why he wore to work with flour and yeast. "Important meetings to expand the business," he'd mumble while taking a shower for the second time that day, leaving in the air a scent of lavender soap that definitely wasn't what we had at home. The hallway mirror reflected a 46-year-old woman I barely recognized. Gray roots showing because it had been 3 months since I'd been to the salon. Deep dark circles from sleepless nights waiting for a husband who came home smelling of cheap feminine perfume, mixed with even cheaper excuses. Our son Marcus, a 22-year-old firefighter, had noticed the tension and started visiting more frequently, always asking if everything was okay with that worried look only children have when they sense their parents' world is about to collapse. I was looking for my phone charger when everything started. Robert had used my car the day before because his was at the mechanic, the 3rd time that month. I opened the glove compartment and found a receipt from the Enchanted Waters Motel, dated last Tuesday. Check-in time, 2:20 in the afternoon. Exactly when he should have been in a meeting with the accountant. My hands trembled holding that thin paper, but what destroyed me wasn't the proof of betrayal. It was the amount. $380 for the presidential suite with jacuzzi. He complained we didn't have money to fix our bathroom leak for 6 months. The perfume emanating from the passenger seat wasn't mine. It was something sickly sweet, with notes of vanilla and jasmine, probably one of those they sell at flea markets that stick to clothes for days. In the center console, a golden heart-shaped earring. It wasn't mine. Never was mine. I only wear pearls, the same ones my mother left me. But what made me collapse on the garage floor, with wobbly legs and a shattered heart, was finding in the GPS navigation history the address, 547 Acacia Street, apartment 302, entered and visited 37 times in the last 2 months. With the determination of a woman who had nothing left to lose, I began my systematic investigation. The trunk revealed the first big secret. Under the spare tire, wrapped in a black cloth, a tube of strawberry-flavored intimate lubricant, the kind they sell at sex shops. The expiration date was still valid, and the tube was half empty. I took photos from every angle, my stomach turning with each click of the phone camera. The disgust was so intense I had to run to the bathroom and throw up my entire lunch. In the back of the trunk, a black toiletry bag that definitely wasn't mine. Inside it, red lace panties size small, I've worn large for 10 years, 2 textured condoms, a cheap $5 perfume, scarlet red lipstick from the brand they sell at supermarket entrances, and, this made me nauseous again, a Polaroid photo of him hugging a bleached blonde who looked half my age. They were both smiling in front of the lit-up sign of the same motel from the receipt. I searched every inch of that car like a forensic investigator at a crime scene. Under the driver's seat, 3 more motel receipts, all from days when he was supposedly in meetings with suppliers. In the sun visor, a credit card I didn't know about, In his name, but from a bank where we didn't have an account. In the door's side pocket, napkins with red lipstick marks and a note written in feminine, childish handwriting. Love, it was wonderful as always. Can't wait for next Thursday. Your Vanessa who loves you. Vanessa. With a little heart instead of the dot on the I. I documented absolutely everything. Every piece of evidence photographed, every receipt scanned, every message screenshot. I created a folder on my phone called Divorce and subdivided it into categories. Physical evidence, digital evidence, financial evidence. Yes, financial, because when I accessed the bank app with the password he thought I didn't know, I discovered weekly transfers of $500 to someone named Vanessa Christine Santos. 5 months of transfers, $12,000 total. Money he said we didn't have to remodel the kitchen. I called my cousin Adriana, a lawyer specializing in family law. She recommended a private detective, John Carlos, ex-military police with 30 years of experience in adultery cases. Mrs. Helen, he said at our first meeting in his discreet downtown office, you need indisputable proof. Photos, videos, audios, material that leaves no room for dispute in court. I hired his services on the spot. $3,000 I took from my secret savings, the one every smart woman keeps. The first batch of photos arrived 3 days later via encrypted WhatsApp. Robert entering the Enchanted Waters Motel at 2:15 on a Tuesday afternoon. The bleached blonde, Vanessa, now I was sure, arriving 5 minutes later in an Uber. The two meeting in the parking lot, kissing passionately like teenagers. His hand squeezing her butt as they walked to reception. Each image was a dagger stabbed into my back, but I needed to see everything. The Italian restaurant video was even worse. John Carlos got a nearby table and discreetly filmed the two dining by candlelight. Robert wearing the Italian suit he bought for important meetings. Her in a tight red dress that barely covered her thighs. Him feeding her forkfuls of gnocchi. The two toasting with imported wine. That $200 bottle he said was too expensive when I suggested buying it for our anniversary. Watching those images, I cried so much I thought I'd dehydrate. The physical pain in my chest was so intense I considered going to the emergency room. But John Carlos didn't stop there. He infiltrated the gym where Vanessa worked as a personal trainer. Yes, a 26-year-old personal trainer. Toned body, perky butt. Everything I wasn't anymore. He discovered she bragged to her friends about the rich old man who was paying for her surgeries. Yes, surgeries plural. Silicone breasts, lipo, facial harmonization. All paid with money that should have been going to our retirement. Her friends laughed and said she was smart, that she had to secure the jackpot before the old lady, me in this case, found out. The bug John Carlos installed in the car revealed conversations that made me vomit pure bile. Robert promising he'd divorce as soon as he managed to transfer the bakery to his name only. Vanessa moaning and making pornographic sounds while, from the noise, they had sex in our car's back seat. The same car where we drove our son to school for years. The disgust, repulsion, humiliation were physical feelings, like someone was rubbing sandpaper on my soul. The nuclear bomb exploded on a Thursday. John Carlos called me for an urgent meeting. Mrs. Helen, sit down. What I'm about to show you is very serious. It was a 43-minute audio recording. Robert and Vanessa at the motel, post-coitus from the sound of heavy breathing, meticulously planning how to steal all our assets. The bakery valued at $2 million, the $600,000 house, both cars, the savings, everything. First, I convince her to transfer the bakery to my name, saying it's because of taxes, said the voice of my husband, the man I'd shared a bed with for 23 years. Then I invent a debt, fake lawsuit, anything. She signs without reading. She's always signed everything I told her to. Vanessa laughed, that high-pitched hyena laugh. What if she gets suspicious, love? She's stupid, Robert replied. Lives in La La Land, believing in eternal love. Doesn't even suspect I've already opened an account at another bank and have been diverting money for months. The next revelation made me see red. They planned to have me committed to a psychiatric clinic claiming deep depression and mental incapacity. Robert had even talked to a corrupt doctor who would provide the diagnosis for payment. 6 months committed and we get judicial interdiction, he explained while Vanessa applauded the idea. Then I marry you and we live happily with the idiot's money. But there was more. Robert had $1 million life insurance policy in my name where he was the beneficiary. In the recording, they discussed domestic accidents that could happen. Wet stairs, exposed wire, gas leak. Vanessa listed like it was a grocery list. Has to look natural, Robert added. After a year of mourning, we get married and live in Miami. My blood froze. They didn't just want my money. They wanted my life. The revenge was planned with surgical precision. First, I transferred half of all our money to an account only in my name at another bank. Robert was so distracted with his mistress he didn't even notice. Second, I made copies of all the bakery and house documents, plus secretly recorded a confession from him drunk admitting to the affairs. It was easy. Just put diazepam in his whiskey and ask the right questions. The lubricant tube was my masterpiece. I bought extra strong industrial superglue, the kind that welds metal. I mixed it with concentrated habanero pepper extract, neem oil, which smells horrible, and fine red glitter, just for an artistic touch. I carefully emptied the original tube, wearing surgical gloves, and filled it with my diabolical mixture. The tube remained identical in weight and appearance to the original. I put it back in the same place, wrapped in the same black cloth, in the exact same position. Then I set up my theater. I told Robert I'd spend the weekend at my sister's house in Chicago to take care of my sick niece. Lie, of course. I stayed at a hotel 3 blocks from home. I installed hidden cameras I bought online at strategic points: living room, bedroom, kitchen. All connected to my phone, streaming live in high definition. I told John Carlos the big day would be Saturday. He mobilized 2 assistants to ensure professional external filming. Friday night, I texted Robert. Love, I'm staying until Monday at Jana's. Take good care of the house. Kisses. His response, don't worry, my love. Enjoy. I love you. I love you. After planning my murder. This man's nerve had no limits. I called my son Marcus. Son, Saturday afternoon, stop by the house to see if everything's okay. Your dad's alone. Sure, Mom. Poor thing didn't know he'd be the star of the show. Saturday, 3:17 in the afternoon. Through the phone camera, I watched Robert frantically tidying the house. He changed our bed sheets for red ones I'd never seen. Spread rose petals around the bedroom. Rose petals. In 23 years of marriage, I'd never received a single flower. Put champagne to chill, lit aromatic candles, prepared a cheese and cold cuts board. The bastard set up a pornographic scene in the bedroom where our son was conceived. 3:43 in the afternoon. Vanessa arrived. Tiny golden dress, stripper heels, heavy makeup. She threw herself into his arms at the front door. The neighbors definitely saw, later confirmed yes, they saw everything. They kissed obscenely right there on the porch, his hands squeezing her butt, tongues intertwining like snakes. They entered laughing, her shouting, "Oh, love, you're insatiable." Mrs. Martha, the evangelical neighbor, almost had a heart attack. 4:05 in the afternoon. After half a glass of champagne, they went straight to the bedroom. Through the camera, I saw everything in sordid details I'd rather never have witnessed. Clothes flying, her exaggerated moans, his animalistic grunts. Then Robert grabbed the tube from the nightstand. Yes, the jerk had brought the tube into the house. "Come, love. Today I'm going to drive you crazy," he said, opening the tube. The gel sparkled with red glitter, but in the bedroom's dim light they didn't notice. 4:18 in the afternoon. The first scream. Not of pleasure, of pain. Robert screamed like he was being quartered. "It burns! It's burning! Help!" Vanessa tried to get up, but they were stuck, literally glued by the superglue. The screams got louder, more desperate. "Call an ambulance, for the love of God!" They rolled on the bed trying to separate, knocking everything over. The candles fell on the carpet. 4:22 in the afternoon. Fire. The Persian carpet we got as a wedding gift caught fire from the fallen candles. The curtain caught next. In panic and stuck to each other, they tried to put out the flames with the sheet, but only spread them more. Black smoke began taking over the bedroom. The screams were now of pure terror. "Fire! Help! Someone help!" 4:25 in the afternoon. Mrs. Martha rang the doorbell desperately. No one answered. She heard the screams and saw smoke coming from the window. She immediately called the firefighters. "There's a fire at house 547. People screaming. Come quick." The call was recorded. I later got a copy. The desperation in her voice was palpable. Other neighbors came out to see. Mr. Anthony tried to break down the door. The house fire alarm went off, that strident sound that wakes up the entire block. 4:31 in the afternoon. Sirens. First the fire truck, then 2 patrol cars, an ambulance. The entire street came out to watch. Children, elderly, everyone. The firefighters broke down the door with an axe. Black smoke came out in dense clouds. 2 firefighters entered with full equipment. Robert and Vanessa's screams were audible from the street. "Here, in the bedroom! Help! We're stuck!" 4:39 in the afternoon. The firefighters came out carrying that. Robert and Vanessa, naked, glued by the genitals, precariously covered by a thermal blanket that didn't hide much. The pubic hair stuck with superglue formed a grotesque sight. The surrounding skin red and swollen from the pepper. Red glitter shining throughout the intimate region. It was a scene both tragic and pathetic. The entire street watching. Cell phones recording. Children having their eyes covered by mothers. Teenagers laughing uncontrollably. "Dad?" My son Marcus's voice cut through the air like a razor. He'd just arrived with the fire department unit where he worked, called for the fire. Seeing his father naked, glued by the genitals to a woman who wasn't his mother, being carried to the ambulance in front of a crowd, the shock on his face was visible. "What the fuck is this, Dad? Where's Mom?" Robert tried to speak, but only groans of pain came out. Vanessa cried hysterically, trying to cover her breasts with her hands. Getting into the ambulance was a spectacle of its own. They didn't fit on the stretcher conventionally. They had to improvise, one half sitting, the other half lying, still glued, the blanket constantly slipping, the entire neighborhood commenting, "It's Robert from the bakery. My God, and that's not his wife. How shameless. Helen didn't deserve this." Mrs. Martha prayed out loud, asking God to forgive that sinful abomination. Mr. Anthony laughed so hard he needed to sit on the curb. The paramedic tried to maintain professional composure, but the effort not to laugh was visible. "Sir, what exactly was used?" he asked. "Lubricant," Robert shouted, "but it's burning like acid." The paramedic examined and frowned. "This smells like superglue and pepper?" The penny started dropping for Robert. His eyes widened in pure terror. "That bitch," he muttered. Vanessa screamed, "I'm going to sue everyone. This is torture. Where are my rights?" At the hospital, the humiliation continued. The emergency room was packed, as always on Saturdays. Robert and Vanessa were placed on a gurney in the hallway. No rooms available. Glued, naked, with only a thin blanket covering them. Nurses passed trying not to laugh. Patients took photos discreetly. A child asked loudly, "Mom, why are the man and lady stuck together naked?" The mother dragged the child away. Dr. Fernanda, the attending physician, couldn't hide her shock. "In 15 years of medicine, I've never seen this." She examined the situation. "It's industrial superglue. We'll need special solvent, and there's some irritant substance causing this severe allergic reaction. probably concentrated capsaicin. She looked at Robert with an expression mixing pity and reproach. "Sir, do you realize this can cause permanent damage?" I entered the hospital at 6:43 in the evening. I walked calmly down the hallway, heels echoing on the floor. Elegant black dress, impeccable makeup, document folder in hand. Robert saw me and turned white as paper. "Helen, it's not what it looks like." "Seriously? Naked, glued by the penis to another woman, and it's not what it looks like?" I laughed. Laughed so hard tears ran, ruining my mascara. "Hi, love," I said in the sweetest voice I could manage. "I came to bring some things." I opened my purse. First, this diaper rash ointment. Oh no, wait. I looked at the label. Oops, wrong one. It's mustard. Dijon mustard. And I rubbed some on the already inflamed area. His screams echoed throughout the entire hospital. "Psychopath! Help! She's crazy!" Security guards came running. "Second," I continued calmly as the guards approached. "Here are the divorce papers, already signed by my lawyer. Half of everything is already in my account. The other half you used to pay for treatment." I threw the papers on top of him. "Third, the photos of you at the motel. The audios planning to kill me. The bank transfers. Everything's already with the police. Good luck." Vanessa started screaming, "You're crazy! I'll sue you! I'll ruin your life!" I turned to her. "Honey, you're 26 years old and we're fucking a married man in the bed where he slept with his wife. Who do you think society will judge?" 6 months passed. The divorce was finalized in record time. The evidence was incontestable. I got the house, half the bakery, and a hefty alimony. Robert lost everything. Dignity, respect, half the assets, and the ability to have normal erections. The superglue caused tissue damage that even surgery couldn't completely fix. Vanessa abandoned him as soon as she found out he was broke and impotent. Last I heard, she was pregnant by some amateur league soccer player. The bakery is now called Helen's Delights. I hired competent employees, renovated everything, and revenue tripled. Marcus, after the initial shock, stayed on my side. "Mom, what you did was wrong," he said, "but what he did was unforgivable." Today, he helps me with accounting in his spare time. He even got a beautiful girlfriend, a medical resident he met the day of the incident. She was on duty and found the whole story hilarious. Robert lives in a studio apartment in the suburbs, works as a salesman at a hardware store. They say he drinks a lot, that he cries in bars telling how he lost everything over a moment of weakness. Men laugh at him. Women spit on the ground when he passes. He became the town joke. "You stuck?" became local slang for complicated situation. Kids on the street shout, "Look, it's super glue," when he passes. Me? I was reborn. At 46, I discovered life can begin when you think it's over. I went back to the gym, lost 15 pounds, got highlights in my hair. I traveled to Greece, an old dream Robert always said was waste of money. I did therapy to process the betrayal and trauma. I learned that revenge can be sweet, but rebuilding is even better. I'm not looking for new love. I'm learning to love myself first. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if I went too far. If the public humiliation was too much. If I could have resolved it more civilly. But then I remember the audio where they planned to kill me. The contempt in his voice calling me stupid. The $12,000 diverted. The lies, the betrayals, the disrespect. And I conclude that no, I didn't go too far. I just gave them exactly what they deserved: exposure, humiliation, and consequences. Life has these ironies. Robert always said I was too clingy, that I needed to give more space. In the end, he was the one who got literally stuck to another person. Vanessa wanted to stick to him for the money. She ended up stuck for real, but only until the solvent worked. I, who was accused of being clingy, broke free. I flew. I was reborn from the ashes of that literal and metaphorical fire. This was my story. A story of betrayal, revenge, and overcoming. That seems straight out of a Mexican soap opera, but really happened here in Ohio. If you made it this far, leave in the comments which city you're watching from and what you thought of this revenge. Was it deserved or excessive? Would you do the same in my place? Subscribe to the channel for more real and surprising stories. Hit the bell so you don't miss any new videos. And don't forget to watch the 2 videos appearing on your screen now. One about a woman who discovered her husband had another family, and another about revenge that involved the mistress's wedding. Until the next video, and remember, karma always comes back, sometimes with interest and inflation adjustment.